For those of you who don't recognise my voice, I'm Ollie. I'll be covering stock product setup today. If you've got any questions whilst I'm going through any of this, please don't hesitate to speak on the YouTube live chat where Steve will be on today. Okie dokie, so swap over to my screen and I'll just log on. Right, so we're covering stock products. So basically, we're going to be covering creating a product, how to maintain a product, and the difference between a stock product and a catalog item, and then covering a bit of the products unit and pricing as well, along with that. I think first of all we'll start off with creating a test product. Then I'll cover all the sections within the product record as well. So to create a new product. Go to your new record at the top and then down to product and create. Okay, so this is you prompted initially with the first pop-up, so how to create the product. So first of all you'll be prompted with the stock code. So this is going to be the reference now as the item in Prima. So this might be an own code, it might be a code that perhaps you wouldn't normally have in Prima as a supplier catalog, for example. So we can call this stock code whatever we want. So if I just call it, I'll give it a number actually, 121212. Enter in your technical description, your invoice description. So most people just copy and paste the two into each one. You can have different descriptions as to what will show on the sales invoice and what will be the description of the product as well. So so basically most customers just have the same description for both there, but you can have the option to have a different description for the invoicing. Okay, you've got a few options for the product type. I'll come on to those in a moment. We'll just create the product first and I'll cover that in a second. Again, most of these I'll cover in a moment, so if I just click create product, and that will generate the product then. So you can give it the basic of information, so a description, a stock code, and then you can create the code, and then you can come back to it at a later date to mend all the classifications, for example. But we'll just go through that now. So if we go through the product status first, so you can see across the top here, we've got the options of a limited product, consumable, discontinue, full, non-stock and components. So a consumable product would be an item where you don't purchase it, so you put it onto your sales order, it skip through all the purchasing and receipting in, and it'd just be available then for dispatching out. So any items that you don't keep stock of or you don't need to purchase from a supplier, that's what a consumable product would be used for. So discontinue, self-explanatory, so it's just discontinuing the item. What that'll do is it'll mark the stock code with a prefix of dis, and then remove it from being able to add it onto sales orders in quotes, for example. A full item, now this one would be used for the likes of machines or like a laptop or something. So rather than having a trace number for all items, so say for example you buy 10 machines, for example, you want to have a batch number or a serial number, whatever, for that specific machine. So that'll give it 10 individual batch numbers, whereas a limited product, say for example you buy 10 pens, you have the same batch number for all of those because they're in a batch, and you don't need to keep track of where they're going, for example. So the full product would basically be used for like a machine, a laptop. Perhaps you're offering a 1-year warranty on it, for example. That way then you can trace through back from that trace number to say this relates to dispatch note, can find the dispatch note number, can find the company, and see when that was processed. A non-stock item, so this one self-explanatory again, so you don't keep stock of it, won't go through the purchasing, won't go through delivering it, for example. So it'd be like it go in your sales order and then it goes straight through to your invoicing. So an example of this may be like, say for example, they come into the office or the shop, then you say for example you do like flyers or catalogs that you give out free with every order or something. You could use a non-stock item as that, so you don't really want to keep stock of or keep a track of what you've got and what you're putting in and out of the shop, for example. A component. So a component would be a group of components linked with a kitted product, for example. So you could have, say for example, like a desk, a monitor, a mouse, all like laptop stuff. You can put that as a kitted product, and then say for example a component of that product would be a mouse would be a component, the monitor would be a component. So you can link all these together as components, which then for example when you put on the kitted product onto your order, that would then pull through all of the components with it. So there is a setting within the admin where you can sell the components separately. So say for example, I think I'm saying for example quite a lot here, but apologies. So say you've got a mouse, you can sell that separately rather than having to sell the monitor and everything with it. So that's just a setting within the admin. But otherwise you can block it so then you can't sell that without selling the full set, for example. Limited product, we just covered that a little bit. That's what most catalog items are set for, because they don't need to have set batch numbers for, say for example, 1 pen. You can have the same one for 100 pens, 200 pens, whatever. So that's the product stasis. We've also got a page on the online help as well for the product stasis, so if you want to have a read up on that, there may be a bit more information on that for you. Okay, so if we move on to the units, so the default unit down here would be what pulls through as a default onto your sales orders in your quote. So if you had an individual, a pack of 10, a pack of 100 against this item, this is just basically saying which one's going to pull through at default. So there is the option when you're adding it to the sales order to choose which one you want to add, but this one's just, if you don't even take into consideration, you just put it on, hit enter, that's then going to pull through this at default. Classifications, so you can classify the item. If you create the item from a catalogue, then all these classifications and everything will pull through automatically, but if it was a known code, you can then assign a classification against it. So if I just say this item is computer accessories, I can then put it under a group. So all these classifications and groups and subgroups, they're all relating to the classification. So business gifts have got different groups and subgroups to the likes of catering and whatever. Pricing methods. So this one now is how the pricing updates against this product. So you can have it as a manual, so you can only manually update the pricing of this product. The preferred supplier's last price, so whatever the last price you got from your preferred supplier will filter through to your product record, so then that price will store against it. The cheapest supplier, so that way you can say you've got Spices, Vow, Advent, whatever. Choosing the cheapest supplier will then allow you to then pull through the pricing of that supplier rather than the preferred. And then fluctuating on actual cost will update as per the actual cost changes. You can have a markup on it and percentage, for example. So that's just a way of setting the pricing against the product. VAT code, so whether it's a standard VAT or an exempt to VAT. And then if you have multiple depots, you can select what depot that product relates to. You've got a few more tick options here. So you've got contractable. That works with the support contracts. So say for example, you take this as contractable, you put it through onto a sales order. If you've got a support contract raised for that customer, it's just going to store the information as to how many times they've purchased this item and what's the ongoings with that support contract. So if it's not ticked, it won't pull through to the support contract. You can still find it in sales orders, etc. But by marking it as contractable, you can keep more of a track of it with the support contract. Installation, we'll skip over that. It's not used at the moment. It's in testing with development, so we'll just completely skip that one out. Till favourite, so that would be if you've got using the Prima till, if you want this item to show up as a favourite along the left hand side, then once that's ticked, instead of having to search for this code every time or scanning the barcode, it'll show up and you can just click on it and add that quickly to an order. green products and fair trade products. Now this is for the web store, so if you're marking this as a green product, a fair trade product, whatever, by marking that'll then put them through as that type of product on the web store. And you can also set a priority now within the administration as to you want to put your preferred supplier first, and then after that you want green products, fair trade products, for example. You can do it that way then as well. Templated items, so this would be used if you're changing the description all the time on the code. So rather than having multiple codes set up, you could have just the one code marked as a templated. Then that way you can change the description all the time. So say for example it was a desk or something. You may sell a variety of desks, but you've got one code for it, so you add it onto the order, amend the description as and when, and change your pricing as well. So by marking that as templated, that just allows you then to change it as and when you need to. You got all the weight and height and everything, so you can add that in as well. So if it was like a chair or a table or whatever, you can do that as well. The delivery type, so if it was a chair or a table, again you may have a specific delivery type of that, so you might not do that yourself. You might have a special delivery for it, or you can mark the delivery type in here, but you can amend it on each order as well. Attribute group, so it wouldn't be attributed to begin with because it's a created product, but if it was created from the catalog, all the attribute data would pull through. You'd have your image code as well. So that's just mainly an automated thing which you can do against a manually created code as well. So within the extra info tab, which I'll cover that slightly at the end, you can add in an attribute against it for the likes of the web store as well. You got product notes as well. You can add notes in against the products, pull through to your sales orders, dispatch notes, just notes that you may need for the product. You've got classifications at the bottom, so you've got 9 options. Not many people use more than, I'd say, 1 or 2, but the facility is there to amend it if you want to. So I know an example of what you may use it for. You can amend the titles within in the administration, I believe, where you can rename one to be I know one customer use it for stock favourites, so they want a report on the stock favourites each month. They want to make sure they've got stock of these particular items. So within classification 1, they've put yes and no. Are these stock favourites? Then they can run off a report to say we've only got 5 of one, 5 of another, but we haven't actually got one of the third one. You can run off a report then and say, well, that's a stock favourite, so we want to make sure that's constantly in stock, and then that can flag up then that you need to purchase that in as well. Protected items, so this one is a new feature, so if you hover over that, it gives you a bit of a description as well. So descriptions, pack sizes, images, any grid manager updates or catalog imports. By having this ticked, it won't allow the import or anything else, a grid manager, to update the code. So similar to like the manual pricing method, that doesn't allow terms to update the product. This is just also safeguarding likes of the descriptions and the images if you don't want to have that updated as well. So that's a new feature in I think the last release. Options to copy the product. So again, if you had like a chair, so some people use it as templated and they just carry on changing the description. You could just carry on, you can create the one, put all the classifications against it, and then copy the product, just rename the code and the description and stuff, and that way then you can quickly create multiple products, pretty much the same one, but with slightly different descriptions or images or whatever. I'll cover these tabs at the end of the session. I'll come into those in a moment, and I'll just cover the products unit and pricing now. So go into that one. So this is just adding any units into the product, pack sizes, pricing. So you'll see a landed cost with a percentage here. So before the actual cost has come in, and you want to put the cost of what you're actually giving it out to, you can put in here, so 5% onto the actual cost to make the landed cost. That way you can make slightly bigger margins, for example. The selling price works in a similar way. Again, putting a percentage against it will help calculate that. Web keywords, so you could have, if it was a chair, you can put some keywords about a chair in there, which when they search for that in the Webstore, this may pull through it at first if that's the only one with that keyword, for example. SKU, just abbreviated for stock codes, that's just a stock code. The pricing band, so usually the pricing bands would be assigned against the catalogue rather than the stock products. You can put pricing bands against own codes, and you can put them against any stock codes, but if, say for example, you've got KF2 4001 has got pricing band A in the catalogue, you won't want the pricing band assigned to the stock products as well. Just then, you don't want to duplicate the discount, and that way you've already got the pricing band set up against the catalogue item anyway. So all the grid managers for pricing band would be against the publication rather than the stock, but you can, as this is an own code, for example, we've just created this manually, we can put a pricing band against that one. Default unit there, it's just telling you it's an each. We've only got an each set up at the moment, but I'll just talk you through how to set up another unit as well in a moment. Feature product special price, so this is allowing you then to put a price that overrules all the pricing. So if I tick that and say I want this to expire tomorrow, they're all going to get it for that special price, which we put against the pack size. So I just click on that against this special price here. So this is used quite regularly for the Webstore. So if you're doing like a promotion on pens, paper, whatever, you can come into here, mark it as featured, say I'm going to sell this for £10, and then that's going to show then on the Webstore as £10 to be sold, and you can set your expiry dates as well. So the offer's on till the end of September. Mark it on the 30th, and then enter in your special price, and that's going to come through. Auto update selling price on cost change, so that again links in with the landed cost and the selling prices. Depending on that percentage, that'll update as per that. Products available on internet for all companies, so if you wanted this product to show online, take that, make sure your classifications and attributes are against it, and that then will pull through onto the Webstore as well. So units, barcodes, cost, all across the bottom. So it does store information against it as well. So say for example I come into this now and change the selling price to £10 for example, and the cost to £2. When I save that now, all this information is stored against it. So it was saying there, this has been created by Prima support, so that's the user that's logged onto the database at the time. The previous change date, so it doesn't store the time at the moment, but it does store the date. So if a product's come up at a certain price and you're thinking, well, why is this price coming through, you can come into your product unit and price and see, well, prices were altered on this date by such a body, and then you can query that then as to why that price is pulling through. You've also got some information here as to the previous pricing as well, which will pull through on pricing updates. If you've got any questions on the product unit and pricing, I think that's everything covered that I wanted to go through there. So if you've got any questions on this section, just pop up with Steve, or at the end of the session we can cover that again. So going back to the product record now, we're not going to cover today the super sessions, warehouse locations, journals, just because I think that could belong to a separate session in its own. There is already a webinar on alternatives, groups and super sessions, so if you're interested in giving that a watch, just let us know. We can fire through the link for that one. The warehouse locations and levels is more of a stock thing, so we cover that a bit in the balances tab over here, and it kind of overlaps a little bit, but we'll have a separate session on that as well. Journals are in all areas of Prima, so you can store journals against the products. You can see any updates against it, so if we just quickly go into there, you can see created by X, Y and Z on such a date, what's been changed on it, pricing changes. So as long as you go to the program generated, you'll see all that information. Otherwise, if it's a user generated, you can just add in a note to say discontinue on this such a date, or you can put any notes against that product that you want to. And then the extra info is just the attributes. So if it is a manually created code, you need to go into it for it to show on the Webstore, for example. You need to set it against a attribute. So if we just click add and edit, you can assign against an attribute. So it's a tablet. I'm going to give it a brand of Apple. Add that in there, and then got an error. So I just need to remove that one first, sorry. Add that in, and then so on, add in your colour, your connection, memory, etc. And then that'll then be available to show on the web store under these categories. So you search for Apple, this product's going to show up. You search for Ace or whatever it's set to will show up then. Product record. So if we start in competitor code, so this one's used mainly for winning like new business. So say for example you've got a customer that's ordering this code that you know is 121212. They know it's a different code of XYZ. When they quote you with XYZ, when you type that into your sales order, so if I just put XYZ into there, just give it information of test, save that. When I enter X, Y, and Z onto the sales order now, it'll keep that code customer facing, so on the reports it'll say this code XYZ with this description. So they think the purchasing this code, even though it's the same item, it will pull through all the pricing, all the information of this product through, despite entering this. So if I just quickly show you how that would work. So if I save that, I'll just close that. Create a new sales order. So X, Y, and Z, hit enter, and then it's pulling through your test. Save that. It's got all the pricing information that we just set. And then if I just skip to that product, you'll see here the actual code of it that's in Prima, and then all the information that's pulled through. So to RSP10, for example. So all that information will pull through according to that. So if you set a competitor code, whatever you set it as long as it's not already in Prima. So if I set that competitor code to KF24001, that's not going to pull through this because there's already code created for that one. Okay, balances. So this is like your stock allocations requirements. So if I've got 5 of this item in requirements and I've got 5 allocated to dispatch notes, you can see there exactly what they're up to. So if you wanted to break an allocation, for example, so you put a sales order on for this item, you've allocated it from stock, and then now you want to remove it, you come into the balances, come into your current allocation, so it's showing the list there. You double click it, it prompts you, are you sure you wish to remove? You click yes, and then that'll throw you then back into your requirements, and you can delete the item off your sales order, for example, or purchase it if you've not got the stock and your figures are all wrong or something. So that's just a way of amending that. You've got your physical stock, available stock allocated, etc. You can make these smaller so you can see them all in one screen. It's just the stock figures and balances that are currently in the system. You can right click and save the settings as well if that's what you want for next time. Batch records, so current batches, items in selected batch. There's nothing of this item at the moment, so I'll show you that in a catalog item, for example. It may have some batches of, but it's just basically telling you what receipt note it's gone out on, what the value, the pricing was, how many has gone. So you may have a list here, so you've got I received 100 here, I've got 100 remaining, so then the next line may be I've dished out 10, so I've only got 90 remaining, so on. So your batches will update in here, so it's a bit like a history. And then if there's any batches that are currently going out, you can see where it belongs to, any serial numbers, so like your machines. You can see, well, I sold the machine on this date, and it's belonging to this serial number. What dispatch note does it belong to? You can find out all that information. History, so this again, a bit similar to the batch record. It'll show you all the history against the ingoings and outgoings of this code. And then in most areas of Prima, you've got a journal, so you can make notes against it. You can see if anything's been changed, and just the general option to use journals in here. There's also options to transfer stock as well. So if you've got multiple depots, you can click on transfer stock to say, well, I want to move 10 from warehouse 1 over to X, Y, and Z. So you, kind of self-explanatory that one. So you're just transferring stock through the system to a different depot or warehouse. Suppliers, so this information, if it was created from the catalogue, you'd already have it all linked. So you say you create a VAL code and you've got your spices and Advent all linked to it. All that information to pull through. If it's a manually created code here and you need to add in a supplier like Lyrica or something like that, you can click here to create a new record, add in your supplier there, so you type away, add your supplier in, put the supplier's code in, so it may be the same as the stock code, it might be something different. You put all your information into here, notes, purchase costs, trade price. It'll give you all the information as your last purchase, but if you're just creating that, you won't have any of that. And any manufacturer numbers, whether it's a preferred supplier, so if you want this code always to be preferred for this code, then that would pull through that, whether it's returnable, and whether you want it to be included in the cheapest calculation as well. So there's a few options there to add a supplier in. So purchase information, any purchase information against the item for that supplier, so you have all your supplier information and dates, and then again journals, every area Prima, any notes you want to put against it. Sales and purchase, so this is a new one now, so this is in the latest release, so it won't be on your database at the moment, so it's likely to be released I believe next week or the week after. We're hoping for next week, but it may be the week after. So this is the information you'll get. So you get purchase and sales summary, total sales over 12 months. You'll see a graph form of all the information. So this is just a summary page. So if you go to purchase information, you can start using your criteria then to say, well, I want to know as and when of 2016 of July the 1st up until 9th September. You can click search. That'll update all your information as to the purchase information, and then it'll tell you then exactly what's happened and what's been put through. So it's reporting built in within the products rather than having to go through to reporting separate and do it that way. So it's received some good feedback so far. You've got sales information here. So again, similar to the purchase information, you can set your from and to dates. Click search and pull through all the information as to this company's bought this many. What the status of the order is as well, for example. So if it was invoiced, if it was still outstanding, you can see all your sales information in here as well. And of course there's a journals in here as well if you want to put any notes against it. Okay, so suppliers. So I'll just cover the catalog items. So stock codes are a reference for yourself within Prima. So you may have VOW or Spices your preferred supplier. So depending on which one you've got, say if it was VOW, the KF code will pull through as your stock code, and that's going to be your reference then as a stock code in Prima as to what you stock it under, rather than stocking, well, I stock KF24001, I stock 0251. I'm making numbers up, I don't know. You can put anything in there. So when you do that, it's stocked under the code you've created it under. So if it was a KF code, then you'd have your stock code here, and then you'd have all your suppliers information linked. So if I just go to publications to show you that. Favorite code. So you go into your catalog item, and then you can skip through then. So if it's not created already as the stock code, so if I just put that over here, you can see it's already created as a stock code under the same item code. If it wasn't created, you'd have the prompt there to create a new product or make product, which would then generate a stock code. So if I just link through to the stock code, you can see then all the information. It's pulled through from the catalog, all the classifications, whether it's that was a manual one, whether it was a till favorite. So if we go into suppliers, you can see then there's spices available for it. I think this is just a test database, so it's obviously wrong that, but you kind of get the gist as to the information it pulls through from other catalogs as well. So stock code is just basically what items you stock, what ones you've purchased in the past. It'll be stored as that stock code, but it may have 5 or 10 supplier codes against it, for example. And I think that's pretty much it for today. Let me just make sure I've not skipped anything off there. I'll just cover the grid as well, just to drag it on a bit. So you can enter in your product code, technical description. You can search on particular statuses as well. So if you did discontinue a product by mistake, you can come in here and say, well, oops, that was a mistake. I can set a status in here, discontinued product. If you know the code, you can search for it, but just click search and it'll pull through any discontinued items. So, oh no, shouldn't have discontinued that one. Come in here, mark it as a limited, remove the dis as well. So that's going to store that as the prefix against it. So if I just remove that, once I've marked it as limited, save that. And then it'll allow you to save it as long as the code doesn't already exist, and then that's then reinstated that code in the system as well. If you click the coloured bar, you've got some more search facilities as well to find products. So if you want to find products that have got alternatives, you can do so. You can see what items you've got as templated, what are available on the web. Quite a few of these functions that are available, so marking classifications, marking available on web, are available within the grid managers as well. So you don't actually have to go into every single product to update something. You can do it on mass as well. Supplier code, so this one as well. So as I was saying before, you've got your stock code that's the reference for all items. So you've got KFC 40001 for the stock code for the VOW item, but then you've also got a spices item under 00. You've also got an advent under X, Y, and Z. You can enter in your supplier code in here, which will then be able to locate your stock code as well. So another way to do that as well, you can go to your catalog, track down the catalog item that you know it is, and then link through and find your stock code from there as well. You can search on suppliers, so you can search for all VOW suppliers available to stock codes. So if I search for VOW in there, search for everything, you'd see every single code that VOW are added in as a supplier against. I think that's probably everything to go through. I'll just reopen a code and make sure. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. So if you do have any questions, me and Steve will be hanging around for a few moments on the live chat, so please head over to there and fire away any questions you may have. If you want any links sending through as well, so like the product statuses, what they mean, other areas of stock taking, we can send through stock products rather than stock taking, sorry. We can send that through on a link as well. So don't hesitate to ask away. We'll also be placing the Twitter poll for next week's webinar as well shortly. So if you've not followed us on there, we'll send the link through as well. You can head over to there and vote for next week's webinar. I'm not too sure what the potential webinar topics are yet, but if you head over to there in the next half an hour, we'll put that on for you. So thank you all for your time today. Hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you all next week. Thank you.